Hi, Gabriela. How are you?
Good, Angelita. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. So, thank you so much for joining. I'd like to kick off, obviously, our Future of Hispanic and Multicultural Marketing panel. Just to kind of give everyone a little bit of context around our discussion today, we're super excited to join you. As everyone mentioned before, I'm Angelita, the Vice President of Strategic Brand Partnerships at BEN, also known as the Branded Entertainment Network. I'm honored to have Gabriela with us, the newly promoted Director of Social Media and Content at UOMA. For those of you who do not know, UOMA is all the rage. Everyone is talking about this brand. It is super exciting. I know Gabriela and I have dedicated many years of our career within the beauty space, especially when it comes to changing the perception of beauty. UOMA is not only a brand that is sustainably sourced, vegan-free, and cruelty-free, but it really cares about representation and inclusivity for all. So, Gabriela, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and your journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for the beautiful introduction, especially to the brand. My name's Gabriela. As she mentioned, I am the Director for Social and Influencer here at UOMA Beauty. I've been in the beauty industry for 4 consecutive years, but I've had clients in the past that were pertaining to beauty alone. I am originally from Colombia and I moved to the US roughly 8 years ago. I was in the fashion industry for a while and then transitioned into beauty. But my passion and discussions in the past couple of years have always been about inclusivity and just making sure that Hispanic and Latinx communities are represented within both fashion and beauty industry. And that's the whole reason I was very inclined towards working for UOMA Beauty, because that's at the forefront of their brand, and that's what the brand exists for. So excited to chat and connect about just everything about multicultural and Hispanic marketing.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for the background. So let's dive into it. Let's just talk a little bit more about this. I think we know, and we want to continue to kind of have this discussion with everyone that, Hispanic and Black consumers and audiences are definitely on track to far outspend other ethnic groups and even just the US population as a whole. They're going to continue to fuel the growth of the beauty industry, not only within beauty, but definitely other verticals as well. And so many brands are still not understanding this. What are your thoughts about that? And how can we get brands to really understand that this is not a trend and that there's so much value that they need to be considering?
Definitely. So I know we spoke about that last time we had a conversation, and something that I keep seeing in the industry is brands or companies thinking that Hispanic or Latino communities are just a trend during Hispanic Heritage Month, and then they're done for the month, or just because there's a lot of big artists right now killing it in the music industry, being Latinos, then they're like, oh, let's hop on this trend, let's do a post. But it's not like that. As you mentioned, just in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, Latinas were the only ethnic cohort to drive color cosmetics in the US. So that tells you something. And to answer your question as to what I think brands need to be doing, it's all internal. It's not about the posts that you have for Hispanic Heritage Month or an ad that you run. It's about hiring people in your team that are parts of these communities because they can speak on it. It's making sure that when you hire marketing divisions or sales divisions, that you're thinking about Hispanic communities, Black communities, and all those served communities, because then that's when you really get representation. And that's what I love about UOMA. This is the first time in my career that I've actually worked for a company that has other Latinos with in their teams, and it's for every single team. There's part of the education team, part of the sales team, part of the marketing team, so that really you can really tell as marketing is being put out that there's people behind the brand pushing for those.
100% agree with you. And being in this industry for 18 years, I was definitely probably the only one at the table for quite some time, and it was challenging to say the least. So definitely agree that it starts internally, and something that I think we really need to ensure that brands and companies, are hearing, and spending time with the culture, our values, our traditions, and that's not a one size fits all, right? We are so dynamic. I know you're from Colombia. I'm Puerto Rican and from Colombia, but I was born here. And what that kind of transcends into, it's not, putting us in this box and checking that box and saying that this is going to target our entire population, entire, vast nationality. So something to definitely consider. Speaking about kind of like our values and our culture, and the initiatives that we, hold dear and near to our heart, do you have any recommendations for brands to kind of just dive deeper there and to make sure that they're authentic when talking to us?
Yeah, I think it's research, which is interesting, but that's the hot topic. I see a lot of brands only activating for Dia de los Muertos or Cinco de Mayo, and that's it. And they don't even know the real background behind Cinco de Mayo. Like people think it's Independence Day for Mexico. It's 100% not. So that's all that they know because they see posts around it. They see some marketing around it. They're like, okay, let's target Hispanics. Let's post
It's an
this.
American drinking holiday. Let's
Exactly. So it's do your research. Go into like holidays that are important for us. Do the research around them. Contract, if you don't have anybody in your team, work with influencers or creators that are from that culture that can really speak on it. That it's not just a white girl doing a post for Dia de los Muertos, but it's someone that actually is from the community and actually has tradition around it. So it really comes to research. Something that we do at UOMA is we look at the entire year calendar and look for any dates that are tied to an activism moment and how can we activate there. And if it's something that we don't have a person or a team to represent, then we contact someone who can speak on it and who can really tell us from an inside point of view. And how you were saying, like, it's not just one size fits all for all Hispanic and Latinx communities. We are so different. We have different things that we celebrate. Just in Colombia, something really small like Valentine's Day, it's in September, not in February. And I've seen brands try to go to the Colombian market in February, and it's like, no one's thinking about Valentine's Day in February. For us, it's in September. So it's smaller things like that if you take your time, even if you're a small team, because I see a lot of excuses like, oh, we're a super small team, we don't have the bandwidth. You always do. It doesn't take too much time to talk to someone that could speak on that specific holiday, or talk to someone who can speak on the culture. So at the end of the day, I think it's making sure that you're talking to the right people and doing the right research.
100%. I remember working on a brand when they wanted to activate during Carnival. I was like, no, no one's going to listen to you right now. Not one word, unless it's about Carnival in Brazil. So, I strongly believe that Black and brown powerful women bring so much to the table from an executive leadership perspective. And, we really do provide a unique point of view to the marketplace. Do you have any recommendations or thoughts around that for just brands, and just also from an empowerment perspective for, maybe someone who's just starting their career?
Totally. I think it's so amazing that we are now seeing more leaders in our community that are representing Black and brown communities. It's like, when I started this career, there was no one at the forefront of companies, working for someone like Sharon and hearing about her culture, how she's also an immigrant from Nigeria and came to do so amazing things. It's really inspiring. And I think what makes us so special is at the end of the day, our culture. We were raised differently. We were raised with different points of views. And when you are looking to hire within a company, it's important to keep in mind diversity because of that, because you'll get different just ideas in general. So I think it's amazing to see brands starting to do that. There's still a long way to go, but I think Black and brown women do see the world differently because of the way that we were raised, especially within Latinx communities. So it's important to keep them at the forefront of companies when you're hiring, et cetera.
Absolutely. I love it. I agree. So let's talk a little bit about UOMA. I mean, UOMA's definitely, everyone is talking about it. It's a huge success. Definitely, I've been in the space for a long time. So to see how, even I saw some posts today, coming out on social media that you're doing from a channel and a programming perspective. Talk a little bit about how inclusivity is rooted at the brand and how it feels authentic, and how and why consumers, especially young consumers, are really gravitating towards it.
Yeah, so UOMA was born out of the need for inclusivity. That's the whole reason for being, that we do have 51 foundation shades. And what makes it so important, and the reason why it's inclusive, it's not just because of the shade range, it's because every single, we call them skin kin, which is the range of foundation and skin colors. It targets toward your specific skin needs. My type of skin might be different from a super pale type of skin or a deeper skin tone. And the skin needs might be different from oily skin to hyperpigmentation. So Sharon was very careful in making sure that it not only targeted all different skin colors, but all different skin needs within your skin color. So that was our first product launch, which was again rooted in inclusivity. And whenever we do a project or a new product launch, we want to make sure that we're inclusive of everyone. Everyone that has felt that's not represented within beauty or within any community, that's the person we're targeting. That's the person that we're going for. And I think that really speaks on why the brand has been so successful. I've only been at UOMA for 4 months, and the things I've seen this brand doing, just internal conversations, are so inspiring. And I can't wait for you guys to see the growth that's coming in the next couple of years. But I think UOMA has been really great at having the conversations that other people don't want to have, at putting things out there in the market that people were scared to talk about or were scared to dive into because they haven't had an inclusive community, or maybe they were scared of the reception that it might get. So I think it's those two things. It's having products that are inclusive for all, but having those conversations. And UOMA, really, we don't consider it a beauty brand. We consider it a lifestyle brand because it targets to a lifestyle. And we want to change the perception of beauty, but also the perception of general concepts and the way people speak about the real issues in our society.
100% agree. And I'm very much excited to see all the impact that you're going to make on the brand and continue to make with the team. So that being said, I know we chatted a little bit about it. What brands do you think are doing it right?
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk about more smaller brands because unfortunately, I think the smaller brands are better than some of the bigger brands out there. Youth to the People is an amazing example. I think they've done it since the foundation of their brand. And I think you can tell a lot of what a brand is doing by something as simple as looking at their feed. Like, that's when you actually see, okay, is this real or is it just performative once there's a month to call out a specific community? So I think Youth to the People is a great example. They are a skincare brand, and Crave Beauty is another brand that I really look up to. Not only do they have a lot of efforts towards inclusivity, but also they're a great resource for anything sustainable, etc. And unfortunately, within the beauty industry, I've seen more inclusivity within skincare brands than what I see for makeup brands. So again, I think there's a long way to go. Another brand that I think has been amazing at it, and it's a very small brand, it's actually Latina owned, is Alamar Cosmetics. They just announced today that they're having a partnership with Encanto, the movie, the Disney movie about Colombia. And even though they are Latino, they make sure to cater to everyone. Obviously, they have that beautiful part of their branding that is like, if you're Latino, if you grew up that way, you feel it in your heart. It's so beautiful to see, but they make sure to target to everyone as well. And I think those are some brands that have been really killing it in the game.
Yeah. Anyone who knows me well knows I'm going to say Dove.
Yes.
I still, believe that they were first. So it is definitely something to watch and consider, exactly like you said, is it in their feeds? Is it authentic? Is it coming through in every touch point that they're doing, not just for Hispanic Heritage Month? And I think that that's something that I think is the biggest thing that we're seeing. I know you and I chatted about it. This is not a trend. We are here. We have been here. Let's talk for real. All right. So tell me a little bit about, I do love influencer marketing. I oversee influencer for many, many years in my career. Who are some great creators that you feel are emerging, that are definitely talking to underserved communities, that you think are aligned within the beauty category, but then activism as well?
Yeah, totally. So I actually wrote down a couple that are my favorites, and they're very small accounts actually. And within brands and accounts, I like looking at the smaller ones because they are the ones that right now are really pulling the real conversations. There's two Colombian girls called Calle y Poche. They are really big on YouTube right now. They've been having this conversation for a long time. They're Colombian based, but I feel like if you guys have a chance to follow, they do a great job. Lex Del Valle is a new creator that I discovered recently. She's bigger on TikTok. She's Puerto Rican. She talks so much about her community and her culture in a way that's so inspiring. And I feel like even if you're not Latino, you're going to gravitate towards it. You're going to want to learn more about her community. And we actually had a partnership with her recently that performed really well. Someone that I really like as well is Mary and Palettes. She is Venezuelan, lives in Miami, has a great platform, and she does beautiful makeup looks that really speak on her community as well. So those are, I think, right now some of my favorites. Do you have any?
Yeah, I'm going to go with some of the macros and the megas as well, because I think, having worked in this industry for quite some time, and to see creators, go from 10,000 followers to millions upon millions, it's extremely inspiring. Dulce Candy, I mean, Dulce led the path. Like, she was one of the earliest creators that really kind of started in this industry with positivity, with affirmations that, were just continuously infectious. I also love Gabriela Brandi. She's fantastic and beautiful, have worked with her in the past. And if these are names that your brands are not familiar with, please make sure that you are, because there are definitely dynamic and powerful women to watch. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more around the fact that, from a stats perspective and an insights perspective, if you ask a lot of women and young girls, around 75% of them do not feel that they are represented in media or advertising. And that's quite concerning. When I think about it, when I was younger, it was magazines, it was this perception of beauty that wasn't reality. It was models, it was everyone was blanquito. It was like everyone had to have blonde hair and straight hair, and I have curly hair. So I felt like if I didn't have straight hair, then I wasn't beautiful. How do you think that has changed through the years, and where do you think we still need to go?
I think it has changed, but it hasn't changed enough. So I think there's still a long way to go. Even growing up in Colombia, we're in the middle of Latin America, all the ads that we would get, all the magazines, it was still just white women. And it was really sad seeing that, even with the makeup brands that had a target there, because obviously we would just get whatever the US got, and it wasn't representing the people in the country. So I think there's still a long way to go. I think the industry, both fashion and beauty, have been better in inclusivity when it comes to plus size models, which is amazing, and different body types. I think they have been including different, like, women of color or people of color, which is amazing. But I still don't see the mark for Latin communities as much as we would like to. There's really big artists right now, music artists killing in the game. There's Caliucci's, obviously J Balvin became huge. Lele Pons is now into music. So we see those people, but we want to see more. We don't just want to see the ones that are really famous and just see them because we're famous. We want to see an ad with a regular person and your day-to-day person who is also part of the Latina community. So I think that's where the industry needs to continue going. And the good thing is these conversations are not happening. The fact that we're having this conversation right now and speaking on it says something, because I think people were too scared for a very long time to talk about this. And platforms like this, or in general, people being able to voice their opinion more on social media, has laid a pathway for advertising, brands, marketing, magazines to be able to have this conversation and think about this when they're planning their ads or any type of marketing strategy.
100%. So that being said, a little more about you. How has your culture, coming from Colombia, moving to the States, how has that influenced your career, the type of partnerships, the type of content that you're looking to create, the type of partnerships, excuse me, I said partnerships, but you know what I mean? Like the types of relationships that you're building within business that, is reflected kind of from who you are, but then becomes at the mass. How has that, transcended into the brands you've worked with?
Yeah, I mean, so much. I think when I first came into the US, it was really interesting because I was in Colombia, right? I wasn't put in a box of you're Latina and that's what you are. I was just me. Everybody is Latino there. We didn't speak about that. So coming here, being put in that box, was like, okay, now how do I make sure that I include my community and include the diversity that I know Colombia has into now speaking to you as audiences, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's really interesting because when you come as an immigrant, you're already one step behind in the sense that you're not a citizen, you're not American, you don't have all the perks, you don't know the culture yet. So I think it's always been trying to play catch up and excelling because I know I'm that step behind. So that's really put a lot of, I would say, positive pressure on me to make sure that my community is heard and that Colombia is seen way much more than just the nasty things we hear about it. When I came to the US, everybody would be like, oh, Colombia, Pablo Escobar. I was like, dude, really? That's all you know. There's beautiful things.
I get it.
So thinking about that, I really wanted to have the conversation with the brands that I work with the people that I met in the industry, with everybody, just like, this is what Colombia and Latin America really is. And how do we make sure that with the voices that we have, with the platforms that we have, with the people that we talk to, with the influencers that we partner with, how do we make sure that that's put out into the world so that when people think about Colombia or Latin America, they don't see the nasty stuff. They see the great and beautiful things that our culture brings.
I love it. I agree. I 100% agree.
And you're also Colombian, so I'm sure you understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it's perception and bias and stereotypes, or, I think also too on the Puerto Rican side of me, everyone is expecting me to just have my flag constantly and being like, "Qué bonita bandera." And it's like, okay, yeah, yes, I love my culture, but there's so much more to us, and we're dynamic in so many realms. So that's I love to hear your experience, and I think it's extremely valuable for everyone kind of on this call to hear that. I'd love to hear a little bit more from you around, the growth that is happening. We are at about 133% faster than any other population in this country when it comes to consumer consumption, which is really, really exciting. And I'd love to know just kind of your thoughts on how you see that's going to affect the beauty industry.
Yeah, I think it's always been like that, but the industry is just now noticing, which is amazing, or they're actually putting attention to it. Something like we were born, we are raised as Latinas within the idea of beauty. Like, I remember my mom would not let me leave the house just like barefaced, even as a child. She was like, "Ay, vas a salir así," or would give me a lipstick or whatever. So that just tells you how important beauty is to us. My great grandma, she's 100 years old, and every time my mom comes to visit to the US, she asks for a bunch of makeup. So even someone who's 100 years old, it's not even live here, is already being part of this market. So I think brands are finally seeing that and being able to target it. And we, as you're saying, we're not a trend. We've always been here. So the growth has always been there. They just had failed to see it. So it's amazing seeing how now there's whole campaigns targeted around Latinas. If you see a billboard within beauty, being able to see someone that looks like you or someone that represents you is amazing. So I think that's been the good part of it, is that brands are finally noticing, and I see 100% more growth, and seeing Latina beauty brands pop up like Rizos Curls is amazing. How I mentioned Alamar Cosmetics, Vive Cosmetics. There's a lot of more brands right now that are coming that are Latina owned. So it's amazing to see that, because a couple of years back you wouldn't see any Latinx brands in the market.
100%. I love that you were just talking a little bit about how our culture, yes, we always have makeup on.
Always. It's
and heels and cute outfits. It's just part of who we are. And, it's the confidence. I think it's the confidence that exudes with that. And it isn't necessarily about makeup or cosmetics that is defining beauty for us. It's just the part of the culture. It's a part of our confidence. As we walk out the door, wanting to feel good about ourselves and spreading that love and that passion, which is definitely, I heard kind of on the last panel, something that we encourage brands, we encourage, DE&I teams to really just spend some time with the culture and understand, kind of why and how we do some of these things. And that'll really help with overarching marketing strategies and COGS.
Totally.
So is there anything that you're really excited in 2022 that you think is going to make impact to the Hispanic community when it comes to any initiatives or activism?
Yes. So unfortunately, I can't speak too much about what's going to happen in 2022, but I can tell you that there's really great things coming that are specifically target to the Latinx community. So I'm super excited for everybody to see those. And I want everybody to know that it comes from a very genuine place. Always at UOMA, that's why we hire diverse people and diverse teams, because we want it to be genuine when it comes to our activations. Last September, oh my God, we're already November, 2 months ago for Hispanic Heritage Month, I did an activation. And as I was speaking with the creators and the influencers that were going to be a part of it, they were just saying how it felt so great that it was coming from someone that was part of the community and not from someone just trying to profit from it, or from someone who has never spoken to a Latina community before and was like, "Oh, can you do this post for us in Spanish?" And it was just that it came actually from a genuine side. So I can tell you there's a lot of more of that coming in 2022. And I think as my career has shaped, I've kind of shifted my approach to what I think my goals are. And I think one of my major goals is to make sure that in 10, 20 years, Latina communities feel 100% represented, and they can look at beauty ads, they can look at beauty campaigns and feel like they were part of the thought process and not just an afterthought.
I love that. I absolutely agree. Let's talk a little bit about social media platforms and any platforms that you think, are really resonating with the Latinx community and should definitely be a part of anyone's marketing strategy and channel approach.
Yeah, I think we've all seen the decline of Instagram. Sadly, I still love the platform, but it's harder every day to get your content across. It's harder even for smaller brands, smaller creators within Latinx community. So I think a platform that's been really great has been TikTok recently. And I in the last panel, I saw how you guys were talking, like it's definitely for younger demographic. You won't see the 40 to 50-year-olds there. But for the younger Latino demographic, TikTok has been an amazing place because you can just talk about culture. It's not super scripted like Instagram would be. It's not super beautifully put together or super thought out like Instagram would be. You're just talking about yourself and your community and your culture, and you can just have those conversations, and it's way more relaxed. So I think that's been an amazing platform, and a platform that came to be during the pandemic, which is actually had a club there called the Latina Beauty Club, and I found so many beautiful Latinas in the industry that were killing it, was Clubhouse. And I think even though Clubhouse has declined, I think there's still the potential for people and brands to jump in there and have those conversations. Clubhouse was amazing because you were able to find people within your same cohorts or same values and same goals and really connect with them. So we found an amazing group of Latinas that were all in the beauty and fashion industries and just having ongoing conversations. And then we realized after a couple of weeks, people who were not even from the Latino community were coming to listen or just wanted to have that conversation. So I think those two platforms right now have been really, really great.
100%. And if we think about it with Clubhouse, like I'm really rooting for them to have a comeback.
Me too. I'm all about it.
Yeah, definitely. And to kind of also build on the TikTok moms, there are billions upon millions of moms of TikTok. So I would, and especially if you ask TikTok, I wouldn't completely say that you're not going to reach the older demographic. I think that you have to, from a creative strategy perspective, really ensure that you know how to talk to that audience on TikTok and what kind of the purpose will be.
Yeah.
Especially with all their shopper e-com efforts that are coming out as well, which is super exciting to see.
And they just launched Latino or Latinx Creators Hub at TikTok. I actually have a friend that was leading those efforts, and it's so amazing to see it's actually part of their strategy. Like they actually hire Latinos to be able to build up upon that. And that's when you see, okay, that's a platform I want to go into. That's something when that's really represented and taking in mind our communities.
Yes, I love that. And at Branded Entertainment Network, we've continuously been focusing on diversity in all of our influencer recommendations to our partners and brands, but we're taking it even further to look at creators that are up and coming and really serving those kind of, underserved in communities and having those authentic conversations, because it's really important to ensure, like you were saying, it's not only just about the big creators that have done it already, it's about the creators right now that are open to having the uncomfortable conversations, right? And I think that that's going to be really the main focus of next year, which is the content that's going to give you goosebumps, I like to say.
Yes, I love that term. I love how you put that out.
Gabriela, is there anything else you'd like to talk about with the audience and with everyone here at Brand Innovators around just your passion for multicultural marketing and where you want us to go?
No, I think we covered everything. I know when we talked about this conversation, what I really wanted to put at the front of it, and we covered it, is we're not a trend. Hispanic and Latinos are not a trend. We have been here. We're here to stay. We should be part of your marketing initiatives because we are spending. We want to spend the money. We want to spend on beauty. So don't just take us into consideration whenever it's Cinco de Mayo or whenever it's Hispanic Heritage Month. Like really keep us in mind all through your entire year of marketing. We're always searching for new brands. We're always searching for new products. Like we are there in the market. So always remember that, just because now there's huge artists in the music industry that are Latinos and it's fun. Now it's not just a trend. We're not dying down. We're going up.
Yeah. And I would encourage, I think when you're thinking about product innovations, like it doesn't have to be like everything's mango and coconut.
Yeah.
Or spicy.
Yeah.
Let's dive a little deeper there on product innovation. So I do have a question from the team and from everyone out there. They just want to know your thoughts around podcasts, and do you think that there's value there in communicating messages to a Hispanic audience?
You said podcast, right? Sorry, there's a truck in front of me that just
No
came by.
problem. Yes, podcasts.
I think podcast is the future of influencer marketing. And I've been saying that for a while. I've been trying to implement it. And I think people need to look at podcasts right now. And I do think there's a huge opportunity for podcasts being the resource for people to learn about Latinx and just all different type of communities. So yeah, I do. The answer is yes. Podcasts, really, you should start looking into them now and start to put them in as part of your marketing strategies. I think some of the bigger influencers are now releasing their own podcasts, and we'll see new influencers come to lives through podcasts.
Yeah, I would even encourage utilizing podcasts for pre-promotion for other channels that you're doing as well. Like let's think about that overarching strategy and how it all implements and comes together. And a lot of influencers have podcasts that they do have some duplication in audience, but you can still, continue to drive home any messaging that might be a part of a longer comm strategy as well. I wanted to kind of throw it out to the full audience. Are there any other questions for Gabriela while we have her? I don't think we have anything else, Gabriela, but I wanted to thank you so much for your time. It was so lovely talking to you. So amazing getting to know you through this entire process. I wish you all the best with UOMA. I think that the brand is absolutely fantastic, and I would definitely encourage everyone to follow everything that Gabriela is doing, everything that the brand is doing, because they are definitely a force for next year, which is super exciting, especially when it comes to inclusivity and just overarching, understanding the Hispanic community and audience. So thank you so much for your time.